Welcome back to It's Your Law. I'm George Curtis. In case you joined us late, we're talking about the 53rd District in Madison. Carol Owens is retiring. At least 4 people are running, saying, I'm next. I can best represent you in Madison in a very complex, difficult district that has a lot of government employees, a lot of farmers, ordinary working people, and some people that have been very, very successful and have a lot of wealth to protect. Complex district with many conflicting ideas, a big district, a hard district to campaign in. Each one of these people think that they've got the answers for you. Send me. My guest today is Jeff Mann. Why should we send Jeff Mann?
Well, there's 2 things immediately that come to mind that I want to accomplish. The first thing, George, is to maintain regular contact with the constituency. It sounds like a simple enough concept. Unfortunately, I know there's a lot of people watching this show today that will probably concur with what I'm going to say, but how many times have you shook hands with a prospective candidate? You said, good luck. He or she told you what he or she was going to do. Then you never saw or heard from them again. They get down there and they kind of just fade into the background, so to speak. One thing I propose to do is to maintain regular contact. And I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's hitting regular monthly office hours in Waupun, Oakfield, Rosendale, Oshkosh, Amarillo. And even if it's just a couple hours, a week, and going to each one of these places, I can get my work done. They can come in and, air grievances, inform me of their concerns, and I think I can act on that. If I had as little contact with my clients as most politicians do with their constituents, and I think you probably will concur with this, I'd probably, and a lot of other old lawyers, would probably be disbarred. So that's one thing. Second thing is we touched upon the corrections. It's become abundantly clear to me, at least, that we are in sore need of some reform. And John Doe laws are one thing that have been, I believe, proposed. I believe time ran out last year, so any action wasn't taken. But John Doe laws, more or less, give inmates within the prison system the ability to bring lawsuits against the corrections officers. My wife is a former corrections officer in addition to being a police officer currently. When I was in law school, she was a corrections officer. If somebody had brought a frivolous or baseless suit against her, and say the union, for whatever reason, didn't step up and back her up, we would be essentially on our own having to pay attorney's fees, which is a very frightening thought to me, and I know it's a very frightening thought to a lot of corrections officers. Now, as a defense lawyer, I'm all for a fair legal justice system that finds truth. But what I'm not for is frivolous, baseless suits that are just meant to harass and waste resources. As a defense lawyer, we are subject to ineffective assistance of counsel claims. I've been fortunate that I haven't had to experience that yet, but inevitably, if you do it for long enough, you probably will open yourself up to it, and oftentimes the first thing a defendant who has an unfavorable outcome would like to do sometimes, especially if he or she ends up in a state penitentiary, is to nail their defense lawyer. I think we need to protect our corrections officers and any other state employees from similar action being taken. Those are 2 things that I can guarantee you that I'm going to work hard at. I could sit here and say I'm going to slice and dice taxes all I want, but the fact of the matter, and I would like that. I probably, as much as anybody else, have felt the impact of high taxes. I've never had to pay a self-employment tax until 10 months ago when I started essentially working for myself. And I'm not particularly fond of it. But in the same token, we are $500 million budget shortfall in the state. And for me to promise that I'm going to cut taxes left and right, it's not a promise I think I could keep. Now, do I think we need to be responsible spenders? Absolutely. Do I think we need to prioritize? Absolutely. But I just can't blankly throw out there just a blanket, I'm going to cut taxes.
Well, there's a limit to any one a person's ability to turn things around. And yet, that's what we need. We are sending some people to Madison who have, at least their predecessors have, put us in a bind where we're basically bankrupt. We're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. We're taking one-time money to make occurring payments, and it's catching up with us. We've mortgaged the tobacco money. We've already spent the money we're not getting from the Indian reservations for their gambling. We've tied ourselves in a knot, and it isn't just one party or one legislature or one governor. Before Tommy Thompson went to Washington, he had us really spent into a hole. And I'm not saying that because I don't like Tommy, because I do. I do like Tommy. And then McCallum got shouldered with that yoke that he never even had a chance to get elected again, because he stepped into that hole. And of course, it hasn't really gotten any better under Jim Doyle, has it? That's a major problem. How much can we afford to outspend our income?
We can't. I think, just like most of the working families, not only within the 53rd District, but in the state of Wisconsin, you have to learn to live within your means. And I say prioritize for a reason. I think we need to figure out collectively what are the important issues. And once we've determined that, I think we have to move forward and say, oh, how are we going to accomplish our ends? One thing I think is very important and is very alarming, at least in the 53rd District, and certainly the 54th city of Oshkosh, is the loss of jobs. I think anytime you lose jobs, you certainly lose a taxable base, but not only from the business itself, but you lose the families and the individuals who work for that corporation. Those are also tax bases in the sense of property taxes that are going elsewhere where the jobs are. So I think not only attracting new business, but protecting the ones we currently have is essential to getting any kind of stability.
Well, Jeff, we're out of time. I know that you're going to get in your car and wear out a couple pair of shoes and get out and take your message to the people. And they're going to have a difficult choice this fall, because we've got some excellent candidates that want to go down and represent us.
Thank you.
Best luck.
I appreciate it, George. Thank you, sir.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen.